Mr. Brown and Mr. Morrison, please come on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City Council CRA City of Cape Canaveral meeting here at City Hall, and we are starting a few minutes late, which we can get set up here. We're going to have a CRA meeting. First of all, I have a little pandemic advisory to read due to the COVID pandemic emergency. This meeting will be held both in person and virtually by communications media technology (CMT). For those here in council chambers, please do not have GoToWebinar running on any electric devices, as this may cause audio feedback. I'd like to remind everyone participating in all public meetings in the city to conduct yourself professionally and follow proper procedures and protocol. This includes myself as board chair. Let's remember to be patient and professional while following proper decorum. For GoToWebinar attendees who wish to participate during the meeting, during the appropriate public participation portions of the meeting, click to highlight the hand icon near the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Ensure your microphone is turned on. Please be patient if it all works as expected. Staff will unmute your microphone at the appropriate time. They will inform you that you are live. We ask you to start with your name and the city of residence, and you can then begin to speak. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Please use appropriate decorum. The council can then respond to your comments, and we will move on to the next commuter until we have her all. If you click the icon accidentally, clicking the icon again will lower your hand. Rapidly clicking it multiple times to raise your hand may cause your hand icon not to display at all, and staff won't see it. Staff will only be monitoring the raise hand functions of GoToWebinar. The question functions will not be monitored. Those are the rules for the webinar. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into our meeting, and we'll call the meeting to order. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ms. Morrison, would you lead us to the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Vice Chairperson Brown.
Here.
Chairperson Hope.
Here.
Board Member Kellum. Here. Board Member Morrison.
Here.
Board Member Raymond. Here.
Okay, that's public participation. Is there anybody, I don't have any cards, is there anybody on the webinar side?
We have no raised hands at this time.
Daniel?
No raised hands at this time.
No raised hands, so we have nobody that wants to participate from the webinar. Anybody in council didn't turn a card in and wants to participate in public participation? Seeing none, we'll move back to the dais and close public participation. Okay, our new business is approved the minutes. The City of Cape Canaveral CRA meeting from September 17, 2019. And our other item is the City of Cape Canaveral Community Redevelopment Agency CRA financial results. Okay, so we need a motion to do item number 1. You all have it and looked at it.
Made a motion that we approve item 1.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of September 17, 2019, the CRA board meeting. Call roll.
Vice Chair Brown.
4.
Chairperson Hope.
4.
Board Member Kellum. 4. Board Member Morrison.
4.
Board Member Raymond. 4.
Then our next item, discussion on the CRA Community Redevelopment Agency CRA financial incentive. Which the motion was made to have a board feedback and then taken into consideration the incentives were to be adopted by 5 votes at the CRA on June 19th, submitted by the board member Morrison. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Thank you very much for reading that. On June 19th, 2018, we all were sitting here, we came together, and I thought we were all liking what we were seeing. We were reviewing a draft, and had Dave Dickey worked hard in preparing it, and then it seemed to kind of, I think it slid off due to our understanding after the interlocal agreement with the county and understanding their to define what types of projects we should do with the CRA. So knowing that we had a set amount in there proposed, I think we talked about $50,000 out of the entire CRA budget, which is really a small percentage of the total fund to be able to go towards other projects. And I guess the goal of this is to take this time today to say, how do we get this back on track as soon, and if it is off base, I did speak to the interim city manager today. You have an update, maybe that would be a good thing, but if we can do this, I think this is a good thing. And I think we were just running into a stumbling block with the will of the county board. And so how do we get this back going, especially after COVID? I think this is a good opportunity to see, can we carve out an amount of money to promote the basic redevelopment items? You know, the state law does not say that it has to be public projects only. But today, all we've used the CRA funds for, or at least earmarked for, is for the public projects, like the multi-generational facility, and maybe some other areas as well. So how can we, while the larger share is going towards that's the financial strategy to take that out, how do we carve out a little bit to go into the private sector? Because it doesn't say it has to be public. And then I understand what types of projects will the county commissioners, their board, be comfortable with. If they're getting heartburn over, signs and some of the other more controversial uses for CRA monies, I certainly respect that. But in respect to, being able to do a 50% match on paint for that dilapidated house from a widowed woman maybe who just doesn't have the funds. That's what the CRA was designed to do, is to help redevelopment. And landscaping, basic things, put a cap on it to where one person can't take advantage. And I think the most important thing is to make it accessible to everyone, so we're not picking winners and losers, make it as fair as possible. Dave Dickey, I think, has got some experience with this in the past. That was the conversation I want to have today with this chair and the rest of our board on what can we do. Let's push back if we need a little bit and maybe find an avenue to get some of these funds used for redevelopment efforts in the private sector. And my last statement is, the worst case scenario is if it's just all about not using this for any private property, well then at minimum, it might make sense to put the funds towards more sidewalks that come in front of these, or more landscaping in these right-of-ways. I think that would be the next best option, opposed to the majority of it going into the one parcel there. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody want to weigh in? There's certain criteria that we have to meet. CRA. Anybody have anything to say?
Well, being new to this is my first CRA meeting. I think all these projects are really good and would help our citizens, and a lot, I think, especially now after what's been going on and how people are going to need a helping hand. I think if we could divvy out a certain amount of money for, maybe take one of these projects, think vouchers, just do that for a year, but I think all of these are good ideas. I would like to hear more Mr. Brown and Ms. Raymond, who have been involved in this, like I said, this is my first CRA meeting. So that's my thoughts for right now. I'd like to come back.
The real safety subject in the county, it was really sticky. So, I want to.
Yes, it's definitely a sticky subject. I know we have some projects earmarked, but I don't have any issues with maybe putting a little money towards sidewalks. But I don't want to be lost in the shuffle of additional add-ons or takeaways. I like what we have right now. If we want to take a little bit, I don't have any issues with that.
I thought that local CRA money was already allotted for the multi-gen center and the Cape Center. And I thought that was where the money was going. Am I mistaken?
I don't know how many towers are exactly the numbers on the problem. I know that is probably the health money towards that.
And also, I thought that we had decided to budget the money for sidewalks and do so many sidewalks per year.
We're getting into the budget, and I think that's the appropriate time for all that. I don't want to get into too much on it because I know what the problem is. We've been through the county. Back, 3 years ago, we were all on the chopping block. All the cities were on the chopping block. Sunset dates were going to be sunrise, not sunset. I know I was at a married meeting where I got fired and feathered because I told them we were not going to. I was going to go back to our council would not support what they were doing because it was stern over the town. And we were the only city that went on our own during that big fight. If I'm not wrong, right, we went out and negotiated our own pact with the CRA with the county. And the other 15 cities were all fighting with the county. And I guess it wound up pretty much the hell negotiated the fact they did not. Because every very subject with the county. I don't really can weigh in on a lot of what I could say, but I know you have the best information, right?
Yeah, every CRA had to go back before the Board of County Commissioners to sign an interlocal agreement if it was going to continue. And we were no exception to that. If it pleases the council, I'm sorry, Councilmember Raymond, to answer your question, not 100% of the revenues are obligated currently. So there is still some money left over in the CRA, and hopefully as ad valorem revenues increase, that CRA money will increase also. So there is some. If it pleases the council, I asked that they each to contact county commissioners just to gauge the temperature on this. If you would like to hear his report, he's prepared to do that. Yes.
Very important. I think CRAs are great, but what it was intended for was great, but they've all changed their mind. Come up to the dice. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, members of the board. Nice to be here. Yeah, as Todd indicated, he did ask me to do a little bit of background research. I said you'll see that kind of straddled this year. Todd asked me to do some research on this issue, which I was able to do. But I'd like to maybe just take about 5 minutes and kind of set the stage and maybe a brief analysis of the process and how we got to where we are today. And perhaps it would be especially helpful for a board member, Kellum, who doesn't have a lot of history with CRA. And I promise I'll move through this as quickly as I possibly can. The city CRA was established back in 2012, and that was in response to some grassroots initiatives from the residents of Cape Canaveral, mainly flowing out of the vision process that the city undertook in approximately that time. And there's a process to establish a CRA. It's a community has to prepare what's called a finding of necessity. Basically, what that means, you have to prove that there's blight, you have to document that there's blight in the city. And those standards are all established in Florida statute. But the city hired a consultant, did that, went through the process, adopted the finding of necessity. And at that point, we went to the county. Because Brevard County is what's called a charter county, established by charter, they have to delegate authority to establish a CRA. And so that's what happened in 2012. The county delegated the authority to establish a CRA. And why I bring that up is an important part of that delegation. We've gone through 2 resolutions. The important part of it, I want to point out to the board this evening, was the second resolution. And the county gave the authority to the city of Cape Canaveral to adopt CRA plans and to amend CRA plans without county approval. If we're not the only one in the county, we're one of the very few cities that have the ability to amend our CRA plan without county approval. And that's an important point, as I'll point out here in just a few minutes. The next step goes, the city prepared a CRA plan, and basically what that plan does is it establishes how the city is going to tackle that blight issue, what policies and programs we are going to, and how we're going to do that, how we're going to deal with that issue. And if you've never seen a map, a CRA map of the city, it's a large part of the city, and that turned out to be a very fortuitous thing. And it was just as a side note, perfect timing when we established back in 2012. Real estate value for Red had really dipped, so it's really a great time to do that. Anyway, CRA plan established. And the CRA plan, as I said, establishes guidelines and programs and policies on how the city should deal with blight. And to Board Member Morrison's, the issue we're here to speak tonight is these financial incentives, different loans and grants that we can potentially establish. The CRA plan is replete with references and calling for these type of programs. So when it was established, it was contemplated that these financial incentives to both homeowners as well as business owners, that was something that the city and the CRA board wanted to target. And it's, I have a highlighted section of the CRA plan, it's just full of it. So that's a good thing. We do not have to go in and amend our CRA plan to establish and fund these type of programs. It's all there, it's all ready to go. Now, next important point I want to bring out is there is a draft. It's either, Board Member Morrison mentioned, we do have a draft incentives guide. Thank you, Board Member, for saying I prepared it. I appreciate that. And you all know Dr. Fredo. I work very closely. I'm going to say Dr. Fredo really did the lion's share of the work in there. It's a quality problem. And it spells out these programs and the CRA plan calls for. So it's kind of the implementation tool of the CRA plan. So it's all ready to go. Really, I guess in conclusion, I won't go into the rest of the stuff unless you have specific questions. But I think my final comment is it's ready to go. All the CRA board needs to do is decide we're going to put some money into this this upcoming or whenever CRA budget, fund it, and we'll make it happen. CRA staff will make it happen. We've got the applications are all done, all the criteria is done, the scoring, how we score the applications all done. Everything's sitting on the shelf ready to go. We just need to have, I'll say, a kind of a policy decision or a policy statement by the CRA board. We want to do this. We're going to put X number of dollars into the budget, CRA budget, and we will get to it. The only thing I want to say, and this is, I just want to, for full disclosure, I was able to make contact with 4 of the 5 county commissioners, as well as the county manager, Frank Fox. And every one of them indicated that the sentiment at the county commission level has not changed since 2018 when your local was ended. So that feeling of we don't wanna pick, I think the term was winners and losers. We do not, the county commission at least is not interested in funding programs that we perceive to be doing that. So, you know, it's really just gonna kind of be a judgment call by the city of Cape Canaveral's CRA board. We can do it, we can make it start happening tomorrow. It's just, what will the reaction be from the county commission? Legally, Anthony can weigh in on this. What could they do to us if you know, that's not, I'm not here to answer that question, but everything's ready to go. But there may be some pushback from the county at some point. So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, real quick, basically, we have money that's already here.
Currently, we do not. There is no funding in this year's CRA budget. The only time that we had funding in the CRA budget for these type programs was the 18-19 budget year. This year, we do not have funds in it.
And that was a response to the local agreement, correct?
Correct. So that's what I was saying earlier. If the board wants this to happen, we need to put some money into this upcoming year's, what happened in the 2021 budget.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Can the money in the CRA be used for like routine things, like for example, cleaning up a park?
Yes, technically, yes. The interlocal that we entered into in 2018 says you can use 5% of your annual CRA budget for administrative staffing costs. So if you crunch the numbers, that's roughly 3/4 of a staff person. So there is the ability to hire some staff to deal with CRA things like what you're talking about.
Dave, thank you. That was really good and helpful. And I think this was kind of the feeling we all left off a couple of years ago. And then it went over. It sounds like to me, if we're ready to go, we just really want to be careful, right? And if it's, gray, we shouldn't touch it. But if it's something that Anthony feels, hey, that is the quintessential CRA project in the private sector, I think that will fulfill that envisioning meeting when they did those maps and they said, look at this, look at these old blighted properties, we'd like to see them like this. And then, when we get into the map and you drive around and you see, it's just, can we take a fraction of the budget and stretch it out as far as we can? I'd rather give everyone an opportunity to put $100 who are in the CRA boundaries. I'd rather that go to 1,000 properties than to have $2 or $3 million all in one parcel. Now, this isn't taken away from the projects that we have earmarked. Those projects are there and they're going to keep going. But as the tax incremental financing grows and the revenues come in, can we carve out a little bit? And I think the word, Mr. Mayor, is if Anthony feels good about it, and Dave, you feel good about it, understand the program, Todd, I'd like to see us put the policy in place to say, maybe just give us a heads up, and obviously we'll be walking through this with you.
Yeah, I think if we do get that go ahead from the CRA board, I think there's things that we can do to look to satisfy some of the concerns I heard from the county commission. One of them is, who's Commissioner Tobias had real concerns about some of these programs that don't have, as an example, that don't have clawback provisions. So if a business receives a $10,000 CRA facade and the owner sells it in 2 or 3 months, that owner is really reaping all the benefit from that program. And Commissioner Tobias specifically, I'm not talking about the other ones, but he mentioned that he has a particular heart or things like that. So I think there's ways that, and techniques and maybe strategies we could implement as we're going through this that would maybe soften some of the heartburn that we may.
And just the first ones as we roll it out, if you run it by them, that's a good precaution. Say, here's what we're thinking. You know, I trust that we could pull it off, and if they start pushing back hard, well, then maybe we don't go that way. But I don't think they've reviewed this program, have they? And that would be a good starting point, is to have them review it, and strike through. Agreed. And it was in motion. I mean, unfortunately, there were cities that were going away, you know, interpreting CRA or blight in some bizarre ways, and I think that kind of ruined it for all of us. And so, thank you.
Yes, I want to ask. Dave,
We're probably in there all the time, so we need to.
yes, I talked to, the office today,
Okay.
and, she said that she is for CRAs, and she also is gonna take a program by program basis, you know, for the commissioners to agree. But she did say she is for CRAs and helping blighted areas.
Yeah,
And
I
I think I would like to give, you know, the small homeowners a chance to, at the city, to help them. But, also, I would like to hear from Anthony on how we are we gonna be in trouble?
You won't be in trouble. You spend the money appropriately. It's a CRA, so the CRA has to spend money for redevelopment purposes. The CRA has to spend money consistent with its redevelopment plan. The city has to also, CRA also has to spend money consistent with the local agreement that the CRA entered into and the city entered into with the county back in 2018. So the record's clear. The interlocal agreement does not restrict the CRA's ability to spend money for redevelopment purposes. The interlocal agreement provides other terms and conditions, but as long as the CRA expends money for redevelopment purposes consistent with its plan, and at the end of every fiscal year, our auditor certifies that indeed the monies were expended properly for redevelopment purposes under the Redevelopment Act, I think those expenditures are appropriate. You know, facade grants are the quintessential redevelopment program that many CRAs adopt. But again, the CRA has to spend money for redevelopment. It's not like the same. It's a different animal. The city can expend money for general municipal purposes. CRA is restricted to redevelopment type projects, quintessential capital projects that eliminate blight, slum and blight. Those are quintessential redevelopment expenditures.
So,
I think I would think that, you know, it was a good thing when they brought it up, when the intent was to help, like you said, help children pay their house, and that money. That kind of takes the funding of the money to personal use. CRA is for improvement of life, which that's considered, but anything, like you got to get a planting or new sidewalks in front of a blighted place, that's would be the purpose of that. Yeah, I think they got carried a little bit too far sometimes. I know there was places they were using it for other things, but you know, they got the cities into a lot of trouble. So we had a fight with the and they got settled where everybody started just making other things. Everybody's ganging up on the county, and of course, the county holds the key to the padlock to the bank. So as long as that didn't make that. But yeah, I'm for cleaning things up with light and using it properly, but I think if we kind of agree to let staff come up with a project and put a footprint on it and take it and see what we do. Take a little funding into the next budget. But if that's consensus of what y'all want to do, if you want to come up with an area that you see that needs a little improvement, some planting or vegetation, or whatever, take that, let's go. I'll support anything that's going to be right and not make them more across the road. We've been that fight before, I would go there again.
If we can get into this and into the, when we get into the budget, we can really see what it looks like and how it impacts the overall city. I think that that's a good plan. And so I'll make a motion that you, sorry, Executive Director David Dickey works with taking the first steps to put a plan together on some projects. So I move that we implement the first stages of this project, subject to review at the next budget meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion is to come up with a plan, Mr. Dickey, if you want to take the bull by the horn on that one.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can I just ask for just a little bit of clarification? Now, we're talking, you mentioned the plan, we're talking about, program. Yeah, because we have that draft incentive guide. So I think the board is comfortable with moving forward with that. I believe that's what I'm hearing. But in addition to that, you would like a plan for some, maybe some capital projects, landscaping and sidewalk and things like that.
I'm under the impression what they say, we just pick some small spots, capital project, and it would be like rebuilding a lift station or something of that nature. But a small, let's say a small capital project, or whatever, I don't know how you want to classify it. But I understand to say you take a small area and maybe do some planting and enhance the area, sidewalk or whatever, and improvement, just some small. But this, of course, would have to be something that would have to be run by the guys across the road. Let's see how they feel before we even do it.
I just want to make sure I was clear on my thing here. It does not need to be run before.
Don't get into another war like we had to be.
Again, you know, I hear what you're saying, but the CRA can spend money for redevelopment expenditure.
Right.
The agreement doesn't, with the county doesn't prohibit the CRA from
But
spending those money, but you need to spend those money wisely for redevelopment.
If we did it on public property, there would be no problem
Well,
with those guys. That's what started it before, when they were doing
I
it.
think the city can, by way of example, the CRA could implement a facade grant program where money is provided to eligible applicants to improve their property in a certain way. And the CRAs have given grant money for that.
Like painting, new facing wall.
Anything that comes and goes, I mean, that's kind of those soft kind of costs. And I know a lot of CRAs will provide grants for hard dollars, like replacing your facade and guarantee, and then the property must turn around and guarantee that they will maintain that capital improvement for a number of years, where the CRA can claw back grant monies that were provided. That prevents property owners from taking the money and doing the facade improvement and then letting it go to hell in a handbasket or take it down, you know, after like a year later. You need to have some sort of, you know, securitization. Those projects are.
But the big thing was the mall and Titus, they got a big investment. The guy just sold it the next year later. Bang. No, that's what got them all around up.
And there are ways to deal with that from a legal instrument standpoint, where if you provide the money and they do the facade improvement, something can be recorded against the land. So in the event that they sell the property, the subsequent owner is required to maintain it for a certain number of years as well. So there is a deal with that from an agreement standpoint.
You got a clawback clause where you can.
I've done many CRA agreements that have clawback clauses for those expenditures. So not with this city, but with other cities, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. I don't read anything, in the local agreement that restricts the CRA from spending money for redevelopment purposes. And in the event that you spend money inappropriately, then there are consequences. One consequence under the local agreement is that we would have to correct that expenditure with it, in order to address it properly, because the county is providing tax increment financing to the CRA for expenditures, so their money is at risk, and you don't want to inappropriately spend the county to revenue nor the cities TIF revenue. So hopefully I'm clear on that point, but I just don't think it's appropriate for the CRA board to have to go with hand in hand to the county commissioner for every single CRA expenditure. That is not the end of the
Well, I'm just saying that we don't put something out there that we can't defend against them.
Absolutely.
I was supporting very much the CRA, side grants and helping the businesses restructure their front of their house, or buildings and whatever, but when we got into certain areas, not us, but other cities that did it, they stretched it a little beyond what it's supposed to do.
I can't recall on facade grant, I can't recall, David, maybe you refresh my memory, I can't recall whether the CRA board ever formally approved a program.
Yeah, there is a facade grant program in the draft financial incentives guide, which the CRA board adopted.
That's what we had.
Well, it was a draft until the board adopted. So yes, it's in there, as is there a paint voucher program, that's in there as well.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, that's what my motion is to take the first step. So let me say that to implement this program, and I said subject to review of the budget, because I just didn't know what the total looked like. I just want to make sure it fits in the overall financial plan of the city. And the total amount, that was, so implement, begin the baby steps, and then we'll look at, I guess, the total amount. I think it might have been $50,000. Okay, and then if that works for our budget, that's my motion, is to implement and trust the staff's gonna help guide, which I know they will, away from any news headlines.
And is that in this budget, or we talking about next year's budget?
I think we currently do not have funds in the current fiscal year budget. I think what we have to do, I believe, is we would add it to 2021, effective October 1. Then we can start implementing the program.
So I recap where I think we are. So we're talking about a facade grant program, a paint voucher program, and potential small area capital improvement programs. Those three things under the CRA to be budgeted for the next fiscal year, provided we negotiate with the council, the council and Board of County Commissioners, that we don't want to step afoul of that.
No.
I don't see why.
Okay.
We need to negotiate with the county commission about routine redevelopment expenditures. You can do what you want on that.
If we do something and it makes them better, we're going to be right.
Yeah, I'm saying we should implement what we have and trust that Anthony's going to, the permission's already been granted by the state of Florida and the interlocal agreement. And so now we can run, they're ready, staff is saying we're ready to go, let's go. We've approved this plan already, we just need to give them the green light to implement it.
I don't want to dominate the discussion, but I'm trying to decipher what an appropriate motion or direction of the CRA board should be. Mr. Dickey indicated that, refresh my memory, that plan was already enacted by the CRA and it's policy of this board. I also heard that there might be some small little CRA projects that might entice the CRA, right, to do. That's outside of the plan that we were talking about. So what it seems to me, the CRA needs to give direction in preparation of next year's fiscal budget to appropriate funds for some small projects and implement a plan that was already adopted the policy by the CRA regarding facade grant. So it's really primarily a budget appropriation direction that the CRA board needs to provide. And staff needs to come back to you with some small projects in the next budget. That's what I'm thinking here.
That second part, that wasn't in my motion. I think that we can just take the 50,000 that was already approved and implement that. That's my motion. I think Mayor or Chair in this case would just say kind of a pilot to get some things going, but I really don't think that's necessary.
I don't want to say how we're going to earmark money right now. There is going to be some money that we can discuss at a later date, how to use it. I don't want to earmark that it's going to a side project, it's going to sidewalks. This is for later discussion that we can decide how it's going to be spent.
In the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's appropriating the money at this time for the program to be developed later with this area.
We have to move on to this running.
Is that this budget? Appropriate for this budget?
No, that's next, that's
2021.
Which, that was my point, when you direct staff for the next fiscal year budget to put in their appropriations to implement policies previously enacted by the CRA. You got the facade, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I hear, then I heard from the board member that we're going to maybe consider some other projects, and you can consider those during the budget process if you want to appropriate additional funds. But I think that's the direction, the budget appropriate needs to be done by staff. The budget adoption process is coming up in 2 months. 2 months for the CRA, August, September. October.
I just want to say, I'll roll. I'm fixing things up.
So fix the motion.
Yeah, I think my motion is still on the floor. And I said to implement this program, which means to, appropriate the money for the 2021 fiscal year.
That was seconded, and correct, is that what you? All the motion, please. Public comment.
Regarding the direction. It's not a final action.
Anybody, we didn't get any far, but I asked what's forward, anybody want to speak on this? We're close public discussion.
webinar as well. Anybody on the webinar?
No raised hands at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, once. Okay, call the question.
Vice Chair Brown,
For.
Chairperson Hope,
Or.
Board Member Kellum, Board Member Morrison,
For.
Board Member Rayner.
Okay, we're into our regular meeting. Have anything else to say on this before we adjourn? Adjourn. Okay, we're gonna take a minute and let's get our weather organized back for the new meeting.